YouTube, how's it going? I'm Eli. Welcome back to my channel. Been a little while. My apologies. Life's been busy, but I wanted to get back into the YouTube game a little bit. I've got 3 videos coming out. This is just the first one from my recent trip to Japan and Korea. This video is just going to focus on the first few days of the trip in Tokyo. We're going to do this story style. So I'm going to be talking to you here and then showing you guys some clips and some photos and just talking through the trip a little bit and reliving my really fun experience a couple weeks ago in Japan. Right before we get into it, if you enjoy the video, hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here this year would be really fun, a little metric to reach, and maybe motivate me to keep making videos more consistently for y'all. And yeah, with no further ado, let's dive into the first few days of my trip in Tokyo, Japan. Very first day, I landed at Haneda Airport, took a taxi to Hamacho, which is where I was staying. Really neat area, stayed in the Hamacho Hotel. Highly recommend it if you are ever going to Tokyo and you want to stay in a more quiet part of the city. Nice access to cafes, things of that nature, and it's a really nice neighborhood. Anyway, first roll of film from the trip was a roll of Portra 160, which I shot on my Leica M6. You already saw the title of this video. We'll get to that. Trust me, it's coming. But started off the evening with the Leica M6 and my Voigtlander Ultron 2 28mm f2 lens, walking around Hamacho and then visiting the Sensoji Temple. We had some of the best light of the entire time in Tokyo this evening. Golden hour was stunning. The temple was really pretty to see with the very vivid red tonality coming from the different buildings dotted around the temple. And yeah, I really like some of the frames from this first roll of film. And then immediately after that, I went ahead and loaded up a roll of Merix 400D. That's basically a made in Japan version of CineStill 400D here in the United States. And so I went ahead and loaded up a roll of that right after I finished the roll of Portra 160 because there was still some nice golden light hitting at the temple. The hard part with 400D films such as Merix or CineStill is if you want to reduce the halation, you need to not shoot toward the sun. So some of these photos turned out a little bit too much halation for my liking, but some of them I really do enjoy. And when you shoot it facing away from the sun, you can get some very pleasing colors, which this roll shows. And then we have some video here of me continuing to shoot this roll into the evening in the area surrounding the temple. It was really beautiful and I really had a fun time just relaxing, getting into the Japan vibe and observing some people outside eating dinner on a really, really pretty evening around the temple. So finished up the roll of Merix 400D, and then at that point I was in Shinjuku and I was going to be shooting some film at night, walking the back alleyways. It's a really cool place to shoot both digital and film, especially at night. There's a plethora of light sources to use, and so it's not super challenging to shoot film in this area. I even think you could probably get away with 400 speed film, but I went ahead and loaded up a roll of Lomography 800 into the M6, and this is where things started to take a turn. So loaded the film normally, and everything was functioning as it was supposed to. After a couple photos, however, the film seemed like it had not spooled correctly, so reopened the M6, reloaded the film, just said, hey, I'll sacrifice the first couple of frames and continue shooting the roll as normal. And I'm about 9 shots into the roll and still walking around Shinjuku, and out of nowhere I take the photo, go to advance the shutter, and nothing moves. Everything is completely jammed up, no movement of the camera, nothing's happening. I'm like, maybe something's wrong with the film, maybe something got off the spool again or is jammed, I don't know. Well, at this point, I'm like, this roll is a total loss, just gonna give up on it entirely. So I open the back of the M6, take the film out, and it's right then, once I'd taken the film out, that I notice the shutter curtain is stuck in the open position. Like the film had been exposing the entire time from the moment I pressed the shutter in on. The shutter curtain completely had ended up snapping, like off of where it starts from, and as I found out later, it was not going to be usable for the rest of the trip. So needless to say, it was a camera I had just recently purchased. I had put probably 15 plus rolls through it with absolutely no problems whatsoever. But of course, on the first night of the big trip, it decides to snap the shutter curtain. So this was very, very sad, obviously, for me. And it meant that I no longer had a backup film camera with me. My Canon AE1 up here, I had sitting right here on this shelf during the trip. I didn't take it, didn't think I would need it. So as we go into the next morning, I ended up at a Leica store to try to see if they would be able to repair it quickly. Well, that's not the case, and it was going to be months for repair there in Japan. So at that point, I knew that the camera was going to be unusable for the rest of the trip, and I needed to go back to Shinjuku and go to one of the camera stores there and try to find a used film camera, because the plan for this trip was to shoot as much film as possible. So that's what I ended up doing. After searching a couple of stores, I stumbled across a mint condition, black painted Canon AE1. For me, I just needed to grab a camera I already knew really, really well and did not have to think about it or fiddle with anything. I just would know exactly how it works. So ended up picking up another AE1, but this one with black paint, and it came with a 50mm f1.4 lens. And then I ended up buying a 28mm f2.8 lens for it as well, and quickly ripped a test roll through the AE1 there in Shinjuku, and then took it to Kitamura Camera for a same-day development and scan, and everything came back fine. Everything looked good. I tested as many shutter speeds as I could in broad daylight, and everything looked like it was working properly. And everything ended up working properly with this camera for the rest of the trip. So not what I wanted to be using there. There's a reason I bought the M6 and wanted to use the M6, but I was still blessed to be able to find this for a good deal. And now I have a really neat mint condition copy of an AE1. At that point, I was ready to full send film, and that's exactly what I was going to do the rest of the day. And then as we wore into the evening, I was on this trip with David. I will go ahead and link his Instagram down below in the description of the video. Check out his work, give him a follow. He's an awesome photographer. And we were really excited because it is cherry blossom season here in Tokyo, and some of the trees were in full bloom. Most of them were just beginning to bloom while we were there, and we wanted to go ahead and check out a couple places in Roppongi for some night sakura viewing, and so that's what we went ahead and did. I loaded up some Lomography 800, and this time the Lomography 800 worked as it was supposed to in the Canon. Everything came out great from this roll on night number 2 in Tokyo. The next morning we were blessed with some nice weather once again, and I went ahead and loaded up some Ektar 100 at the Imperial Palace and Palace Gardens. This was a really fun area to shoot. If you go back and watch some of my previous videos from Japan in a trip I made last fall, I was not able to visit the Imperial Palace Gardens, and this was a real treat. The weather was stunning, light breezes, about 70 degrees outside. It was gorgeous and a really fun place to shoot the roll of Ektar. And then I also loaded up a roll of Portra 160 and continued to photograph the gardens. Next up, found some more cherry blossoms on this roll of Cinestill 50D. Again, with Cinestill 50D, you can get a little bit of halation. Usually it's much more well controlled than some of the other, 400 speed halation cinema film stocks that we're able to shoot. And 50D is a super sharp film. I almost didn't realize just how sharp it was until I was scanning the film. And man, these look pretty cool. I like the color palette on this, and 50D is definitely a stock I want to shoot more of on upcoming trips and just here in Indianapolis this summer. At that point, we headed off to Ueno to grab some lunch and continue to make images. At this point, I put in my go-to film stock, Kodak Gold 200, as the sun continued to shine at the busy Ueno market area. This area was really cool to photograph. I definitely utilized the 28mm focal length here, as everything was very tight and compressed in, and I wanted to really give a in the moment vibe and a very much as if the viewer is there with me experiencing Ueno. After that, I loaded up a roll of Ilford XP2 400. The reason why I decided this black and white film stock over a standard black and white film stock would have been the fact that I knew later on in the trip in Seoul, South Korea, that there was going to be a film lab where I was going to be able to self-scan my film, and they were going to be same-day turnaround on the development part of C41, but it would have been several days for the development process on standard black and white film. The cool thing about XP2 is that it can be developed in standard C41 process, so it became my go-to black and white film stock of choice for the trip, and I couldn't be more happy with it. I plan to continue shooting this film stock maybe as my primary 400 speed black and white stock going forward. I think the images from it just look fantastic right off the scanner. Medium to high contrast and quite high sharpness, and I would say probably medium grain level. You can tell you're shooting film, but it's less grainy than something like a Kodak Tri-X, for example. And I really, really like the look of this XP2. This roll was here in Ueno as well. And then at that point, as we headed once again rapidly toward the rest of the afternoon and into the evening, I was going to continue shooting film. That's the theme. I put a lot of rolls through the camera on this day, and no holding back. Now, after we had gone back to the hotel to kind of do a different gear loadout for the evening, I usually tend to go full backpack for most of the day when I've got my video gear and I've got all my photo gear. And then I like to usually go back to my hotel on these trips, say around 5 or 6 p.m., relax for a few minutes, change out my gear, go to a smaller crossbody bag, and have a much lighter gear loadout for the evening. And that's exactly what I did. And we were able to find this really cool burger joint, which was near our hotel within walking distance. And this was a really cool spot. This was definitely Japan's take on classic Americana diner vibes. Such a cool restaurant. If you're ever in Tokyo, Brozer's is an absolute must-do. Burger was fantastic. The vibes were immaculate. And as soon as we finished dinner, I said, okay, this place needs to definitely be highlighted on a roll of film. And so as I loaded up some CineStill 800T, the red exterior and interior of this burger place looked really nice on CineStill 800T. And then as we continued deeper into the evening, we headed to Shibuya, and we really wanted to just capture the chaos and the fun and the bright colors of Shibuya, and I continued to shoot the roll of CineStill 800T in some of the back alleyways of Shibuya. After that roll was finished, I'm pretty happy with some of those images as well as the video clips I was able to capture there. We decided to hang out at the Shibuya Scramble Crossing, and I loaded up a roll of Superior Extra 400 and then attached my flash. This is the Light Labs Flash Q Q20 Mark II. I went ahead and put that on the AE1 and shot some flash photography at the Shibuya Scramble. I'm happy with these. These have just the chaos and the fun vibes that the Scramble gives off. I love the fashion in Tokyo. It's one of my favorite things to capture on the streets while I'm there. And yeah, a trip to Tokyo is definitely not complete without a little flash photography night session in Shibuya. That was our final full day in Tokyo, and so when we woke up the next morning, we were going to be making the trip to Osaka in the early afternoon. So that morning I decided, hey, let's not take any more video here in Tokyo. Let's just relax and enjoy one final morning in Tokyo before continuing the trip. So I went ahead and shot a couple rolls of film that morning, and walking around near the hotel, again, just very relaxing, very calm. A very different part of Tokyo than where I'd spent the night before in Shibuya. Completely opposite vibes, but equally as fun to photograph. And yeah, I'd love to know what you guys thought and what photos stuck out to you guys. Drop a comment down below, timestamp your favorite image. I'd love to hear what you guys like the most. And yeah, stay tuned. 2 more videos from this trip are coming very soon. A video from Osaka, and then a video from Seoul as well. Really excited to continue putting the content out for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.